said that, if you recall, Mr. Crumbley's son was understanding during the meeting. He didn't fight with you about it. He listened, and eventually he went back to class.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Later in the day, you received an email from the same teacher who expressed that some of Mr. Crumbley's son's prior work may have been a little violent.
No, that was in the same email.
It's in the same email?
It is.
Or was it in an email sent later in the day?
No, it's in the same email from that morning. It was up on the screen. It's at the bottom of it.
The one that was originally sent to Mr. Ejak and Ms. Fine?
Yes.
That was later forwarded to you?
Yes.
You didn't see any of those assignments prior to meeting with Mr. Crumbley's son?
That is correct.
If you had seen those assignments, it probably wouldn't have changed your approach to the meeting, correct? Because the approach was really more about the appropriateness of the behavior. Is that fair?
I mean, it's a hypothetical of what we would have done. We acted on the information we had.
And the information that you had was that he was looking at bullets in class.
Yes.
And looking at bullets is not necessarily something that is in itself concerning to you, correct?
I think you're kind of trying to put it in like a pigeonhole. We were trying to gain context of what was going on in the situation. Because a student looking at something on their phone at the end of the hour is different than a student brazenly doing it throughout the entirety of the class. But our conversation was, is this school appropriate or not?
And in fact, if you recall, your position was at the time, it wasn't necessarily concerning because he was honest about it. It seemed kind of a commonplace thing given the Oxford community and the gun culture in the Oxford community and things of that nature that you took into a factor.
We took a lot of things into a factor, including the fact that we conversed of how it was not school appropriate. And that's why a phone call was placed home.
As I just indicated, the Oxford area was and may still be a hunting community if you know.
Okay.
I'm asking.
People hunt who live at Oxford.
In 2021, you would classify it as a hunting community.
I would say that there are people who are hungry, yes.
Activities with guns were a common hobby in 2021, if you know.
I mean, there were people who had guns as a hobby, yes.
It was common for students to be interested in guns
I'm sure there are students who are interested in guns.
and to go to the shooting range.
Yes, students would go to the shooting range.
Yes, I'm just going to object to make sure that the witness is speaking with personal knowledge. It appears counsel is asking him to give general speculation.
Well, if you know, if you know, you're not familiar with guns yourself, it sounds like. So just if you know.
Okay.
Students going to the shooting range isn't viewed as unusual or concerning in and of itself. Is that correct?
I think that you've got to have context with all of these.
Right, and I'm just asking, in and of itself, a student going to the gun range, the shooting range, is not concerning in and of itself.
It depends on the context. Because the student weightlifting is not concerning in and of itself unless they're doing it inappropriately, right? So you're taking something that's a broad statement that can have a wide context.
And on November 29th of 2021, Mr. Crumbley's son told you and Ms. Fine that he'd gone to the shooting range with his mom the weekend before.
Correct.
That in itself is not concerning to you.
He did it in a way that was appropriate.
You would agree, and can you refresh my memory, how long were you in the Oxford School District as of 2021?
7 years.
And in that 7 years, you learned that many households had firearms in the household. Would you agree with that, if you know?
What is many? There are people
More
who
than
own
10?
guns. There are people who own guns.
Okay. And you, as a counselor at the school, you were aware of that?
Yes.
It wasn't completely unheard of?
No.
It was also relevant when looking at the situation, it was also relevant for you to note the fact that Mr. Crumbley's son was not hiding that he was looking at the bullets, or didn't hide it from you when he spoke with you and Ms. Fine.
Well, he didn't lie about what had happened.
And that was important to you.
Yes.
As a result of the meeting with Ms. Fine, with you and Ms. Fine, Mr. Crumbley's son was not disciplined.
To my knowledge, no.
There was a phone call placed to his mother, which we've talked about. There was a voicemail left. You did not yourself call Mr. Crumbley.
I did not.
You did not forward him the emails that you received.
I did not.
You don't know if that voicemail was ever shared with Mr. Crumbley. Is that fair?
Well, we talked about it in our meeting the next day.
Okay. On the 29th, you don't know if Mr. Crumbley was ever made aware.
I would have no way of knowing that. No.
Right. You wouldn't know. You responded to the situation of Mr. Crumbley's son looking at bullets on November 29th on his phone with the information that you had.
I did.
And from what you knew at the time, other than the behavior being inappropriate for school, you didn't see anything else that might have been concerning.
Well, and I want to make clear, I wouldn't be the one doing discipline in this situation. So,
And I'm asking, and let me clarify, I'm just asking from a counselor's perspective. I'm not asking for discipline. You clarified that Mr. Eject did discipline. And Ms.
okay.
Fine.
So, could you repeat your question, please?
Yes. As a counselor, on November 29th of 2021, you didn't see anything overly concerning about what we've just talked about with looking at bullets on the phone. That the focus was more that looking at bullets on his phone was inappropriate for school.
So, are you asking from a mental health standpoint, did I see anything concerning?
Not really. I don't know that you're a mental health professional. I mean, you're a school counselor and you do have some training and education in that. I'm not asking for you to go anywhere outside of your education and experience. Just as a high school counselor, sitting in Ms. Fine's office with the information that you had, you didn't see a bunch of red flags. We've talked about, and let me give you some, let me go over it a little bit. You've discussed that you know that there are households in Oxford that have firearms in them, right?
Yes, there are.
You know that people in Oxford hunt.
Some do, yes.
You know that students are interested in guns.
Some can be, yes.
You know that students look at bullets.
We had one student who did that in that situation, yes.
You know that student, Mr. Crumbley's son, was honest about looking at the bullets when he was asked about it.
To the extent of our knowledge, yes, he was.
He told you that he'd gone to the shooting range with his mom
Yes.
the weekend before. Yes. Those things were not concerning to you.
Taking those things in a vacuum is why we called home. That's why Ms. Fine called home.
And she said, we had this meeting, we told him it's not appropriate, he understands, no need to call back unless you have questions, right?
I don't remember the exact voicemail that was left.
The voicemail was not, we need you to come to school right now.
To my memory, it was not, but again, I don't remember the exact voicemail that was left.
On November 30th of 2021, you received another email. It's this one, Exhibit 202, which was from another teacher who was talking about Mr. Crumbley's son looking at a video of a guy gunning people down. Correct?
Yes, so this teacher was a co-teacher in that same first hour class.
From the day before?
Yes.
Okay. You reviewed that email on November 30th of 2021.
I did.
You made the decision I think you said you didn't see it for about 20 or 30 minutes.
I didn't. I was on the phone, and I actually responded to it while I was on the phone. And then upon ending that conversation, was going to go meet with the student.
And this is the fourth email that you've received about Mr. Crumbley's son since the beginning of the 2021 school year.
Yes.
The third email in 2 days.
Is it?
You would have received
I think it's the second in 2 days.
the November 29th email about the bullets, and then do you recall receiving
So this is the second one with additional information.
Okay. The second one on a different issue. Is that
Yes.
fair? Okay.
Yes.